Ducktales, 20 years later, episode 7. At about hour 3 over the Atlantic Ocean, on the way from Bahia to drop off the Cariocas to Upland and Cape Suzette, the boys officially ran out of things to do to pass the time. Which one do you think is the cutest? Said Huey, who had engaged the autopod feature of the Sea Duck, was involved tying the controls down with rope and crowbar so they couldn't move. He was sitting in the passenger area with his brothers and Webigail, who was sleeping. What are you talking about? Asked the Green Phantom, who couldn't even change out his stuffy costume, thanks to stupid Dewey not being able to figure out his real identity. The girls, Joe's nieces, daughters, whatever. Which one do you think was the cutest? They were practically identical, Huey, Louie answered. I know, but wasn't Rosalia just a little firecracker? I guess. And Amelia was such a shrinking violet. She barely said 2 words to me the whole time they were with us. Not surprising, cut in Dewey. She didn't know a word of English. But of course there was little Maria. I think she had the best rack. Jesus Christ, Huey. Must we talk about this? Said Louie. I do believe I was too busy writing for the South American communists to pay attention to Maria's, wreck. Yes! Besides that, we already had that conversation 3 times since Webbing went to sleep. It was no more less awkward said, drop it! Huey blinked at his brother's outbursts. The Green Phantom leaned back, crossing his arms over his chest and closing his eyes, trying to will the plane to go faster. Recovering from Louie's annoyed rays, Huey's eyes half crossed. A smile came over his bill. Too bad Louie couldn't make it out here, huh? Green Phantom opened his eyes and was about to say something when he noticed Dewey react, throwing up his hands and saying, Forget about that spendthrift. I'm glad he's not around. Things will go much smoother without him coming up the works. Louie's face began to blush, and strong words crowded up the tip of his tongue, but held back by the sense of honor among superheroes that demanded he keep himself masked. Huey noted this, and with a smart smile went on. What is with you and Louie anyway, Dewey? What happened between you two? He had turned his face towards Green Phantom. If you don't mind talking family business in front of strangers. Oh no, I'll drop it high and low. Louie was a lousy partner. Louie's face, practically hidden behind a mask, was an rictus, barely containing his rising anger at both brothers. How so? What actually happened? Dewey rolled his eyes. Like I believe you care about things like that, Huey. What? Come on! I want to know why you two are always fighting all the time. What's up with that? With a nod, Dewey agreed. Fine. He leaned back and prepared his story time. You see, it was a few months after you left, when the two of us decided to run Duck Enterprises together. It was Uncle Scrooge's wish that we, the 3 of us, would continue the company, but of course, Uncle's damn cold is dead, and I played hooky. Right. So there we were, 2 kids pretty much, running a multi-bajillion-dollar empire. It soon became clear that the 2 of us were not so quite compatible in business as we thought we would be. The trouble started when Louie started to get into charity work. Charity work? Huey stammered out. The boys had a fascinating view of charity, due to their dual upbringing. Donald Duck, a decent sort, rarely thought about things like that, barely having 2 cents to rub together himself. And their Uncle Scrooge took the word give to be a dirty word. Huey understood the need for charity, in theory, but hard-coded life lessons from their great uncle and stayed his hand, giving too generously to anything if he couldn't give back. Dewey nodded his head, face showing the same disdain that Scrooge would have in this situation. And not more than in the least. It was something about bullocks and teachers in Africa. Teachers crossing borders, interjected Louie. Right, something wishy-washy like that. Dewey was beginning to get on the story. So, when I found out he had been spending money away anonymously, without making adequate records, mind, so we didn't get to even Cleveland or Texas, I put my foot down. I tell him there's no profit in it, and there's no profit in it, then the company should have nothing to do with it. You know what I did after that? No, said Huey. What? He was going on and on about moral responsibility or something or other. When he tries to make a point, he starts out with a fresh $100 bill. It tells me, it's just paper if you don't use it. And get this, he sets the bill on fire and dumps it in the grass. No! Said Huey, torn between regaining the regret using Dewey to bait Louie and a genuine shock of finding out that Louie had to face money. A crime in the Duck family punishable by death. The Green Phantom, not willing to go unrepresented, jumped in. So he burned the Benjamin. So what? It seemed like you were being unreasonable. With all due respect, Phantom, said Dewey, this is a family matter. Butt out. Why, you... But alas, Louie's scathing comment could not be completed. There was a loud boom from outside. Over the hum of spinning propellers. All three ducks looked out the window. Levy was suddenly roused by the roar and rubbed her eyes. What happened? Bad news, fellers, said Huey as he began to walk towards the cockpit. We got SIL. Who? Louie answered quickly as he began to buckle his seatbelt. International Anti-Sky Piracy and Smuggling Strike Force. Oh, why would they want us? Huey took up a CB radio and hailed the Iron Vulture. Almost immediately, those Spanish-inflected tones lifted up towards him. Ah, so the little duck has come home to roost. His brow crowded in on itself before he began to answer. Hey, Junior, how's tricks? Ever so peachy king, said Commodore Kid with barely disguised contempt. No, if you will, I have need to inspect your craft. We ain't hauling anything, Junior. Could you give me some pass just this once? No, Mr. Duck. If I gave passes to you, I would give passes to everybody I meet. Yes? No? Okay. Who really hopes that Don Carnaras is going to show up in the new reboot? Is that just me? Huey sat in the pilot's seat, grumbling as he undid the autopilot. Fine. Open up the vulture's beak. We're flying in. He slammed down the CB, making sure it was as much noise as possible to annoy the operators on the air side. Louie and Dewey came into the cabin slowly. As they were trading on ground, they weren't certain allowed in. Huey spoke. What did he want? To inspect our cargo, obviously, asked Dewey. We have nothing to hide, so I don't see why not. Maybe they can give us a lift. We can save money on gas. For these hard houses? Answered Dewey as he lined up the sea duck with the gaping maw of the Iron Vulture. I doubt it. The yellow plane came to a screechy stop on the long landing strip inside the Iron Vulture as a crew member held up two orange flags, directing the sea duck to arrive at full stop in a space set up for it. As being propelled slow to a halt, the engines quieted themselves down to a barely audible hum before being silenced altogether. All right, Junior, said Huey as he opened up the door and stepped out of the plane. I've got an old hunky cheap of a car, first aid kit and 3 passengers. You're 3 to search stop the bomb, but I promise you guys won't find anything with your... The gun pointed in his face. Huey couldn't help but give out an involuntary gulp. His eyes darted around the room, revealing that the sea duck was surrounded on all sides by the crew of the SIL. Hello, Huey Duck and passengers, said the Commodore, standing on the walkway above, speaking through a megaphone. Please do be walking out with your hands up, and will not be forced to shoot. Huey crossed his eyes as he looked into the gaping gun barrel, held by the thick-looking dog Huey knew to be called Rand. He slowly turned his head to the plane, moving his hands to where Rand could see them. Come on now, everyone. Be careful about it. One by one, the small crew of the Sea Duck, business-attired Dewey, the amateur superhero the Green Phantom, and Abigail Vegecrant, their personal assistant, all stepped down into the hangar, hands in the air. As soon as Dewey stepped out, he was grabbed roughly by the several SIL men and slammed to the ground. What's the big idea? You can't do this to me. I'll sue. We got you, Commodore. Commodore scraggly cried, holding down Dewey's head. Excellent. He laughed gaily as he grasped onto a nearby rope and swashbuckled his way to the ground. The bossman at Shush will be pleased. We have captured the international terrorist Duck and his gang of troublemakers. The 4 ducks were as loud as they demanded explanations for this terrorist business. Hughes was the loudest. Have you lost your mind, kid? When do you get off calling us terrorists? It is so simple. Yes, no? You're in Duckburg, California. Oh, about a week ago, correct? Louie picked up the slack. You're blaming us for something the Pika Boys did? Not us, began Kid. The international community at large has decided the brand new boys as criminals. So it happened to be acting under the law. Come to strike you down. Yes, no? What are you go talking about, you corporal ignoramus? Yelled Dewey, still pale to the ground. It appears, according to Cessna's sources, that the seizure of Duckbill by criminals was planned and perpetrated by one man, and a mad grasp of power. A man with enough money and time to plan and train for an event of such a scale. Someone with access, perhaps, to the largest pool of money ever collected in one place. I, I would, I never. It does not matter what you say. Or they say you break a law, and I should go after you. Then I say you break a law, and I come after you. Simple as that. And then rounded the other three, pointing his head forward. Of course, seriously, I complicit in this. Yes. Nothing more to say. Louie and Webby climbed up, but Huey's head stayed firmly in the air. Bullshit! He said, daring Commodore Kid to come out. So, telling me to do my job the way you think it should be done. That smart guy? He began to approach, a smile appearing on the rest furrow's face. What's it going to do about it? I just know you're going to put this radicto con Dios. Maybe put her in a museum, yes? Or simply take her apart and use the parts to spruce up the vulture, no? Perhaps we just melt it down and start over, since I am sick of the sight of it. His face was red, eyes were wide with rage. This situation was not going his way. He did not like it. His mind raced for words, any words. Cutting Fist's words to come to the back of the snide man of the law. When I get my hands on you, Canars Jr., I'm going. A big laugh, followed by the entire crew laughing, which only caused Hugh's rage to multiply. This guy thinks he can take me, huh? Calls me Canars. Who is this Canars fellow? Surely not this evil, sick, lawless man who ruled the skies 40 years ago. No, sir. Must mean some other Canars, yes? I love the law too much to be associated with a man like that, even if I do have a passing resemblance to him, according to second and third hand accounts. If you say to me words like that, you better be able to back them up. His eyebrows raised as his hand hovered near his waist, where a ceremonial sun was hung. Yes, no? He stared at his sword, and at the rust-colored hand that followed the handle. His eyes squinted as he stared. Slowly, he lowered his haunches and raised his fists. The room roared with laughter. Huey, no! It's not worth it! Shut up, GP. Yes, whoever you are, shut up, said Kid loudly. Lending me another sword, quickly. We cannot fist fight. You would lose too badly. We shall fight like gentlemen. Yes, no, with swords. Soon enough, a sword was thrust into Huey's hands. He felt it for a few seconds before it dropped to the floor, to a rousing show of laughs. What's wrong, tough guy? Taunted Kid. Pick it up. Metaphorical smirk poured out of the metaphorical ears as Huey picked up the sword slowly. He waited in his hand for a moment before he screamed, raising the sword high in the air. Slice! Huey could suddenly see nobody standing where the Commodore used to be. And I struck it, Mr. Huey Duck, Kid said, throwing down a bit of brown fluff. Too bad about the landing. Huey stared down at the fur-lined collar and gawked. A small section was sliced right off with surgical precision. With new resolve and not a reason to rage, Huey began to prepare another strike. Observe, man, the common man, rotted to the core, just a long step away from a life of crime. And when his back against the wall, Huey came at him, only to have a button of his jacket sliced clean off, held in the Commodore's hands. You fight like a rat. No refinement, no order. This blind rage. Louie began to step forward, but a gun seller's face down on the wall. I'll kill you. Also observe how the common man's little words fail him. Considerate he is, the building blocks of social justice and law leave his little mouth. Bye-bye, and now replace my hideous rats. Huey walked up behind the postulating sky sailor and raised his sword to strike him down, only to have an elbow driven to his gut. Sword sits at his neck. Of course, he comes from behind, lacy 50, pathetic, sick, lawless common man he is. Commodore Kid began to sweat, not very certain, for he was currently only exhibiting the barest minimum of skill for the fight, but from the pacifist speech. To sneak up and stab someone in the back, instead of coming before his enemy in the light. That is the way of those who hate the law, yes, no? He grabbed Huey by the neck of an arm and kicked the sword hand, causing the sword to fly away off into the crowd. So, you filthy, hateful exiles of your own country, you shall come peacefully or I will have to. He put a certain relish to the words that came next. Cleanse you of my presence. It was a test moment as Huey, his rage leaving him fast as his basic instinct for self-preservation, beat out hers and rear door into Commodore's face. Dropped his swords and raised his hands and feet. Ah, and now this common man gives up when there is no way to go on fighting. A coward to the end. He threw the Huey to the ground roughly, and seized his sword. Take this and its friends and place them in the brig. We shall be having accolades all around for these men. As the four ducks were led, or carried out of the hangar to their new prisons, there was a cheer for the Commodore. 3 cheers for Commodore Kid. Hip hip, hooray. If I'd let him keep his goddamn sword, I could have had him, yelled Huey as he paced his cell, the fire back in his face. Louie sat in a small hard bed in a sail cell, since Dewey had been thrown in the next door of Webby. He felt like he could take off his mask and begin to fit himself without any significant loss in his horror. A master swordsman versus some scrappy fist fighter, said Louie. Even among superheroes, those are not good odds. For the next cell over, Dewey yelled, I hope you realize this is all your fault, whoever you are, Green Phantom. Me? What did I do? Isn't it just a tad coincidence that wherever we go, there's some disaster happening? Oh, that's just childish, Dewey. You really think I'm doing this? I think you're not helping matters much. Webby saw him a look. Looks like he ignored and began counting his fingers. The big boys attacked, remember? And then you show up at my uncle's money bin with Huey, with barely an explanation. That was a coincidence. And of course, you just happened to get there a little too late to stop the Marxists from kidnapping Webby. That's not fair. We were going as fast as we could. Webby, saying by Dewey, placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Dewey, perhaps. Not now, Mrs. Vanderquack. And now here we are, thrown in the brig with the SIL, somehow shifted the blame for Duckburg onto me. I don't trust you, Phantom. I don't like you. At least if Louie were still coming along, I could count on a laugh. But you're just bad news. You hear me? I hear you loud and clear, you grimy skinflint. Huey, unable to threaten Dewey from behind the thick stone wall, could do nothing but try to pacify his two brothers, the only way know how. Dewey, I can't believe you haven't guessed by now. Louie's face snapped over to Huey. He had fantastically slammed his mask back on his face. Huey, don't you dare! Guess what? Hugh's rage was now being channeled towards something constructive, and he couldn't be now. About the truth. He leaned back on the barrel door of his cell, so he could speak with Dewey more easily. And that would be? Louie whispered to Huey. Don't you dare tell him, Huey. He's the only one still fooled by my disguise. He gets out to so many people solve my secret identity. I'll be the lively stalking hero community. Huey's too far gone. The Green Phantom, leaning harder at the door, poking his head through the bars to try and look towards his brother next door, is what? No answer. It said the Green Phantom's calls. Huey, are you all right? Dewey and Webby got up from their seats and walked up to the door. He noticed that Huey's and Green Phantom's cell next door was open, and Huey was laying on the floor. What did you do this time? I didn't do anything. He just fell. Webby scratched her head. Well, then maybe. She pushed their own cell door. Lo and behold, it popped open. They weren't locked? Louie shook their heads. Impossible. We still haven't unlocked these doors ourselves. Plus, these are professionals. They couldn't just. Oh, Huey, Webby says. He knelt down to force one of Huey's eyes open. He's out cold. Must have been too tired from the fight to take the ground coming at him. This could be serious. Those shells couldn't have just unlocked spontaneously. Someone has freed us. But who? Let's check it out. Louie pointed at Webby sitting with Huey. You get him up, and as soon as you can, we'll need him to fly the plane. Right. I'll try to find out what's going on. Why haven't we seen any guards around for the past hour or so? Wait a second. I'm coming with you. I don't trust you alone any more than I can throw you. Well, but stop whining, interrupted Webby, her finger extended. Just go. He grunted. Fine. Just don't get in my way. Only if you don't get in mine first. Grumbling at their luck, the two bickering ducks walked on out of the brig. As the two ducks walked on towards the halls, things just got more and more suspicious. The various canine sky sailors who made up the crew of the SIL were there. Their post true, and Louie dived behind a rump when he first saw them. But Dewey on a hunch, wandered over and approached the closest man slightly. Like a tree freshly cut down, the SIL man fell over, his hat falling on top of his head, revealing deep blue lumps and bruises all over his face and scalp. This guy's had a number done on him, said Dewey as the Green Phantom walked up behind him. What happened? Whatever it was, it happened to those guys too. Dewey followed the Phantom's pointing finger towards a small group of SIL, piled up into a little hill of black and blue bodies. As the two dogs walked up, they could hear the light groans coming from some of the more conscious men. Without a word, the two brothers looked at each other, before they went on without a word, both understanding somehow they sounded like a gift course in the mouth. Towards the hangar they went, tracing back the steps they took down to the brig, until finally they made their way towards the guard's cargo doors. On the other side were voices. With a nod and a silent count to 3, the two brothers entered the hangar as silently as possible, viewing a strange scene instead. The iron vulture's beak laid open, bathing the entire room in natural blue sunlight. And around the room there were men strewn about, bent at odd angles. Some weren't moving, some were cringing and whining in pain. In the center of the room, casting long shadows over the airplane deeper inside, was Commodore Kid, sword in one hand, gun in the other, finding a strange, cute character with his back to the boys, causing him to appear to be an amorphous black blob in bright sunlight. His hat was discarded on the ground, and uniform had come open, revealing his fuzzy chest. He thrust his sword towards the weaponless keep, but easily parried, seemingly with nothing at all but his hands. Assaulting my men! Another thrust, easily parried. Assaulting an officer! Bang! The gun went off in his hand towards the blob. Was able to anticipate, not the gun's aim, of course. Trespassing! Smuggling murder! I will break you, whoever you are! With that, the final outburst, Kid gave a last attack towards the strange caged man. The long cloak found its way around his face, and for a moment, the boys couldn't see what was going on. They heard meaty thumps and groans, before the cables whipped away from the Commodore. Dazed by the unseen blow, the officer dropped his sword and fell to the ground, beaten and stunned. Finished, the figure straightened himself out slowly, revealing white feathers on the back of his head. He turned slowly, revealing an orange duckbill. Once his face was in full view, Louie guessed. A single eye, thin and drawn from age and tension, with a small face-obscuring mask around it. Where the other would be, the mask was opaque. The eye followed the small sound of the crane Gadron's gas. He began to walk towards Dewey and Louie's hiding place. Thinking fast, Dewey stood to his full height. Thanks for the help. We were one hell of a jam there. The figure said nothing, merely walking towards them. He cracked his knuckles loudly. Louie noticed that it was wearing to be a superhero costume, though it was shabby and well used around the knees and elbows. Wait! We're not enemies! Louie said loudly. We're friends! They were our bad guys, too! No dice. The duck continued to walk towards them. I don't think he means well, fam. I think you're right. The two of them suddenly rushed away in different directions. Dewey ran towards the downed SIL officer, and Louie towards a small trophy display he'd seen on the way in. The sudden movement, the uneyed figure began to rush as well, running towards Dewey. Dewey dove for the SIL's unconscious body, grabbed at the man's pistol. In one fluid motion, he undid the safety catch and rolled onto his back, raised the gun quickly, only to have it kicked out of his hands by a yellow, grimy boot. The same brute then found its way into his face, kicking him hard inside the bill. Began bright lights exploding in his vision. Dewey still had to price in some mind to speak. Who are... But he was silenced by the man's leather-gloved fist. Suddenly there was a cracking noise, and the black-clad figure straightened out, making a harsh cry of pain. Dewey, still reeling from the blood to the face, looked past the aggressor to see the green phantom, waving a long, leather-length cord. A whip over his head, before bringing it down on the unknown enemy's back once again, crossing with the small lash he had made before. With a gurgle growl, the one-eyed duck turned quickly, and with a flourish of his cape, Louie, breathing hard, prepared to brandish the whip once again. With a snap, the whip came down against his new duck's cheek, leaving a thin bloody stripe. He did not flinch. Pulling back once again, Dewey let the lip fly. The black arm came out suddenly, snatching the long leather lip out of the air and pulling. Louis was unprepared for the unsurprisingly strong grip that wrenched the handle out of his hand. Suddenly armed, Louis fumbled around in his pockets, trying to find something for his situation, only just to see him pulling out the fingerprint-analyzing metal toilet plunger. Shrugging his shoulders, he gave a guttural war cry to the advancing enemy, raising the metal object high. It sank through the air as it was swung down towards that one-eyed head. However, the leather-gloved hand was too fast. Grabbed the plunger-carrying hand and twisted. The object fell from Louis' grip as he gave a trance yell before a fist was driven into his stomach. He was allowed to fall to the floor, clutching himself where he'd been struck. He felt a warm flow gulp up his gut. Soon he regurgitated his bonito breakfast he had with Josie's family before they left. Staring at the two duck boys, one dazed and dizzy on the floor, the other struggling not to let his face dip into a pool of his own sick. The masked stranger scoffed and began to walk towards the open maw of the iron vulture. Wait! Who are you? The duck went to the edge of the iron vulture's beak before he answered, looking at Louis' masked face of his own. A friend. He then jumped, probably without the aid of a parachute, before the green phantom blacked out. Where? Louis screamed. It sounded like a shot and looked around himself quickly, seeing across two seats on the sea duck. His head and stomach still felt every blow that had been dealt to him. Phantom, you're awake. He looked over, seeing that Dewey had an ice pack applied to his head, was still apparently sleeping. What happened? We both found you beaten up in the hangar. We decided to escape. What happened to you and Dewey? Our emphasis on Dewey's welfare caused Louis to feel bad for hating the bastard so much lately. We were blindsided by some guy. A cape like me, I think. Maybe a villain. Holding his stomach, he sighed. The nausea had not left. He was a duck. Older guy, too. I don't know, 50? He's too old to be as good as he was. But what do you want? When I found you, you were... I don't know, I think he was helping us escape. When we found him, he was fighting a crazy officer, Captain Governor Guy, but... Ouch! He looked around lazily. Where are we? Ballpark. Last I checked, over Africa. We were able to siphon off enough fuel from the Vulture to get us all the way to Cape Gazette. Louie's voice was quivering as he held his sleeping Dewey in her lap. What happened? Why those maniacs think Dewey led the Beagle Boys? It makes no sense at all. No, it doesn't. At least not from our perspective. He stood, intending to walk off the pain he felt in his face and stomach. But think about how the public feels about it. What do you mean? We knew people. People like Uncle Scrooge. We knew all of his flaws and failures. But we were willing to look over them when he would give you that little wink and come up with the harebrained scheme to save the day, let you swim in his bin on his time off. We knew him as a sweet old man with great stories about how he made his fortune, who protected his fortune and principles, his family with every fiber of his being. He gave Dewey a sidelong glance. But think of how he must have looked from the outside. Reclusive, openly hostile towards the media, never gave a penny to charity if he could make a nickel off of it. He was a character all right, and the people ate him all up. But they didn't like him. The only thing that saved him from being crucified by the papers were the even worse fellows that came after him and his money and family. Dewey's in the same boat. He is? He's following in Uncle Scrooge's footsteps. To the T. A little too close if you ask me. And the media is just seeing him as a carbon copy already. There's points against him in their minds. He sat, all that pacing making him dizzy. There isn't merely enough excitement as there was during Scrooge's time. So there's not anything interesting about him to redeem him from his flaws in the minds of the people. There's no reason they should believe he was one to perpetrate the seeds of Duckburg, because he's clearly a spiteful, vindictive, greedy trust fund baby. Let me go around. At least that's what they're thinking. So how can we? I don't know. I don't think we can. At least until we know what actually happened after we left the country. Captain says he's like a good place to settle down as any. He laid back in his seat. His stomach began to feel better. So, how long did Huey say this trip would take? Last I heard, he said it'd be 12 hours. We'll stop over somewhere along the way. Ugh. How long ago was this? About half an hour ago. Great. He put his face back slightly to one side. From above his eyes, an effective sleep mask. If Huey starts talking about Maria's tits, make sure to put some for me.